Hello everybody! Welcome back to my channel. How are we doing? My name is Sam and I'm really excited about today's video. Today I thought it would be fun if we went over how I track my books, what my digital journaling kind of looks like. It's been a really long time since I've done a physical reading journal. This year I am planning to use a physical journal, but it's pre-done up one. This is from Owlcrate. This is a 12-month planner. It's undated. It's got weekly tracking, the monthly spreads, and then a fun little reading challenge throughout. So I'm going to attempt this year having a physical journal, but it's not going to be as creative and fun as my previous journals have been. With that said, I haven't set that up yet, and a big thing that I did last year was just digital tracking. I use the CAWPILE method from G over at the Book Roast to determine, help solidify my ratings if I'm a little unsure, or just, check in with myself to make sure that, how I feel on the inside reflects how I felt about the book. And so I use CAWPILE as my, main tracker. Of course, I've added on a lot more tabs and started tracking more stats than what is generally given on the Book Roast CAWPILE spreadsheet, and I, keep track of everything that I got going on. I'm going to show you a little bit of what last year's looked like and a lot of what this year's setup is looking like. This isn't obviously going to be final form. There might be some stats that I start adding or including as I fine tune what type of stats I want for myself, or what kind of videos need certain information, so on and so forth. So I figured let's start with how I do my fun digital journal, because that's, the fun of it. And then we can dive into the CAWPILE stats, the tracking, that kind of stuff after this. So first, I use Canva. I know it's truly revolutionary. It is such a useful program. It is on the computer. There's a free version and then there's a $15 a month subscription. I can't remember. I pay the monthly subscription. I ended up buying just a yearly subscription to it, get that discount. I really enjoyed Canva. I like having access to everything. I use it for graphics in videos, like tier rankings. I use Canva now instead of the tier ranking master website. I use it for my thumbnails. I use it to track my books. So I thought it'd be fun to show you, this is, I don't know which side I'm doing it on. Probably this side to cover the door. This is going to be my 2024 final form. It basically, all I do is go month by month. My priorities when doing it is to showcase the month, to track my stats in a nice Instagram-sized way so that I can start sharing my reading more on Instagram stories and just Instagram in general, being a little bit more active over there. So I want this to be a nice sized thing where I can showcase my stats for the year, showcase different things that I've got going on. My absolute all-time favorite thing about using Canva like this is just staying up to date with readathons. So I want to track all the books that I read, but I also participate in a lot of readathons. So I try to separate the books that are for readathons versus just for funsies because they're different. And so I will make spreads for readathons, and they're some of my all-time favorite spreads that I've ever done. This whole digital journal started because of the amazing readathon last year, which is hosted by Four Paws and Books, and she basically has it so it's like the Amazing Race. We go to different countries, we have to try different ways to get there. It's team, it's competitive. There's a lot of reading that gets done. That's usually one of my most read months, one of my busiest months. So I'm very excited to continue on that tradition, hopefully this year. But they were some of my favorite spreads to do. I really loved showing off the different countries and just different things about the country, like their native plants or their national flower or certain foods that they liked or animals or climate, all that kind of stuff. I really love doing. It's a fun way to be creative, but not have to do the mess of journaling. You can still make it look artsy. You can still make it look like you're taping stuff in or paper clipping it in without having to physically do it yourself. I'm an artistic person, sure, but it is so hard for me to keep up with literally anything. I will start it for a month or two and then I'll drop it for the rest of the year and completely forget it. So I found that having access to a digital file that I could just access anywhere as long as I had Wi-Fi, I had no issue keeping up with this because it was just, okay, well, if I fall behind, I have a tracker that I can use to get me back there. If I have downtime and I'm listening to an audiobook, it's a great time to just do something artistic while I'm listening. This is kind of my version of crochet. And so I really have a lot of fun doing this. It's mostly to track end of month stats, so I try to keep track of like how many books that I've read, hours, pages. I keep track of the format in which I read the book, the genres of said books, and then things like queer authors and authors of color, as well as like representation in books, disability. I also want to keep track of like the series that I'm making progress in. That's a big goal for 2025, so I'll for sure be continuing. But also just like debuts or translated fiction. Like, I want to stay on top of these things, and I feel like it's a nice reminder to be like, hey Sam, you haven't read a translated book in 2 months. Like, you might want to prioritize that and like rearrange some things. So I find that that really helps me as well and just keeps me engaged and excited about stuff. Also, you'll see a lot of Bookemon things. That's a year-long readathon hosted by Meredith over at Bin Chicken Books. New name, we love it. So obviously there's a lot of Bookemon just throughout the whole thing, put on monthly spreads, and so that was just like a big part of my year and will probably continue on being a big part in 2025. Even though I've been so offline this month, it is painful to me. February this year, 2025, has so many readathons going on that I don't know how I'm simply going to do it, but we're gonna try my darndest to stay on top of things and get a couple of them done. But yeah, I love tracking this way. I love being able to see everything visually, seeing the book covers and seeing the stats, seeing how I can just get cute little images that I don't have to draw myself, I don't have to find, I don't have to pay more money for. Stationery is so expensive. And so I just found that this is a very helpful way for me to personally do it, for me to still express creativity and have like themed things. One thing that I want to start and kind of bring back in 2025 is books that I really, really love, giving them a page to shine, giving them those mood boards. You know, you need to do like a whole collage page, like a lot of people do it for like One Dark Window. I want to be able to do those as well and bring those into my little book journal as well, even though it's not going to be digital, because I'm saving money on ink and paper this way as well. So yeah, this is a big project that I've taken on. I really have loved working on it throughout the year. I've got 79 slides at the end of the year. I think I will probably have more slides by the end of 2025. Like, I think 2025 will have potentially 100 pages. Who knows? But that's, you know, very possible. And so I'm very excited to see what I have in store. So I thought it'd be fun to show you my setup so far for 2025, because oh boy howdy, she is a little bit big. She's a little intensive already, and it's just begun. So I've got an underlying purple theme. I always have my cover page to be a little bit journal-y, or it's like, ooh, stickers and stamps and paper, like as if I'm ripping it, to give the illusion that it is still a journal, even if, you know, it's all digital. But I don't know why 2025 is my space year, apparently. I was leaning towards it. I was like, galaxy colors? Yes, let's do it. So I have my 25 and 2025 tracker, 12 Friends Recommend 12 Books tracker. I've got a DNF graveyard. Anything that you see in somebody else's book journal that you like the idea of, you can easily put it into your own digital journal. It's quite simple and easy. I've got my bingo board from hell, which is in my goals video if you're interested in more details on that, or you can just go check out the Literary Diversions channel. Then I got Buzzwordathon, of course. I have not pre-planned any of it. We're just going with the flow. If you have books with patterns, please recommend them, because I am struggling this month. Also, we've got a lot of 2025 year-long things. We've got book clubs, we've got read-alongs, we've got challenges. I will be hosting a Red Rising read-along this year, starting this month in January. I don't know yet quite when the live show is going to be. It's sometime early February is the goal. So if you want to read Red Rising and get in on it, I'm really excited. I'm really nervous. I've never hosted a read-along by myself. I do have my friends Daphne and Liza at least joining for the first one. We'll see if they continue on with me from there. But I am very excited nonetheless. Moving on, we've got the 4Bs book club, one of my favorite book clubs that I always try to participate in. I'll be on at least February, maybe, and then for sure I'll be in April. I am the cause of April, so that'll be fun. I look forward to that. We also have the Literally Dead book club and those picks that will be coming out. I'm excited to see what we end up getting to. I'm so nervous for Grady Hendrix' new book. Okay, and then we have the book troops, their selection for the year. I also, you know, gotta stay on top of the books that I'm owning, the books that I'm buying. I haven't bought any book of the month yet, which go me, but I want to keep track of my TBR for Book of the Month and for Aardvark so that I make sure that I read them and stay on top, especially because Book of the Month has the read 15 books to get a first goal and then 30 books to get a second goal in reward and prize. Will I hit 30? No, because I'd have to buy a lot more, but I can at least try and hit the 15. But yeah, I keep track of those that I own. And then we get into So many challenges, which I haven't even started to plan out. I'm going to the busy season at my job, so I haven't really been prioritizing the year-long stuff yet, but when I see it and I watch the video, I at least save the document so that I have it to look back on. So we've got the series Takedown Reading Challenge, hosted by Rainy Blue Reads. We've got 25 and 25 Reading Challenge, hosted by 4 Paws in a Book. Then we have the Romantasy Bingo, which is hosted by Hannah Blackwell. And then we've got the Trans Reading Challenge, which is a whole year challenge. I really hope that you guys will join this, especially this year. Just with how things have been going lately, I think showing love and support is crucial right now. So I will leave the details in the Instagram for this, as well as the Storygraph challenge for the Trans Reading Challenge, so that you guys can participate and get inspiration for other books that you might want to pick up or add to your TBR. This is my tentative TBR. I'm hoping to read more than this year, but we will of course have to wait and see what happens. A couple of them I'm already planning to read in February, and then we get right into my months. So we've got January. These are, you know, the hopes and goals for things that I will read, but we have a TBR-a-thon happening right now, so I'm participating in the bingo and the pause and bookshelves, so you're getting a little spoiler on what's going on this year. And then we've got Summerween, and then I'll have my stats page here, and then it will continue on. We've got Bookemon. That's a quarterly drops this year. It's a bit simpler than it was last year, so if you were intimidated by it last year, you might want to go check out the announcement video. I will leave it linked below. That way you can check out what's going on this year. It's easier for everybody to participate. You can choose your level and difficulty so that collecting Pokemon and reading for different prompts is much easier for you, but still very fun and enjoyable. So I'm really excited to continue on with Pokemon stuff. So that's kind of the gist of what my tracker online looks like for now. Obviously, I will share it with you guys at the end of the year, and I'm going to try my darndest to be better at posting monthly on Instagram. So if you want to see these ahead of time, I will try to post them then. Maybe when I do my wrap-ups, I'll show you guys what they're looking like as we go. Just trying to like show it off a little bit more, talk about it more, because I'm really proud of what I did last year. I thought it was really cute, and what's the fun of it if I can't show it off to people? So that is, oh gosh, so that's how I've been doing my book journal on Canva, and it's been a lot of fun. I really enjoy Canva. I think it is worth the money, but if you're just doing this for funsies, you don't have a channel, you don't have a purpose for using Canva on a near daily basis like I do, like, might not be worth the money for you. I can't make those decisions for you. What I'm using it for, I find very helpful and useful, and I like having access to everything. So you gotta weigh the pros and cons yourself and see what works best for you and if it's something you need. I know that it's really easy to take stuff on the internet and copy and paste it into Canva. So yeah, no, I think you can make it work either way, free or not. So that is everything I have for Canva. Not sponsored, just simply what I use. Now let's jump in to my CAWPILE. This one CAWPILE is a little hectic for 2024, so I'm going to show you my 2025 tracker first, and then go into the stats and like what it looks like complete, because I don't think you need to see the chaos that is the 260 books I read in 2024. So let's show off this instead, which is exciting for me. Alright, so this is what my 2025 tracker currently looks like. The books that I've already started reading and tracking some statistics for, as well as some of the books that I'm hoping to get to very soon. Title, month that I read it, the author, publisher, format. Those are normal CAWPILE things. I'm trying to remember how much I've actually added to this versus not. So let's just scroll through and see. Age category, published, blah, blah, blah. Year it was published. If it's a debut or not, that's something I definitely want to check. I remember adding that, I want to say last year, just so I could stay on top of debuts, especially for end of year stuff. My rating, which is done by CAWPILE, lovely little math system, so much easier for me. This is my color palette. I don't know if G has even uploaded about CAWPILE this year, but I just copy and pasted my 2024 into a new spreadsheet, cleared everything out, and then I chose just a nice little muted color palette that I love. I have how I acquire the book. If I'm track my buddy reads, I track if it's a book club or readathon read. I also track how long they take me to read, the days that I start and finish. I use this a lot. I try to track a lot on Goodreads, and I'm getting much better at using Storygraph, so I do track there, but it's nice having like affirmative, these are the dates. And sometimes I have to use Goodreads to clarify dates, but I try to stay on top of it for my at least tracking spreadsheet that like these definitive, I read this book in this amount of days. I also track rereads and series stuff. I don't track my series this way. This is just kind of a basis to see what things are like. This is not definitive to the series that I've actually started or finished or progress and stuff. I have a different way of tracking my series, which it will be in my next video after this. And then I also track, of course, translated works, the translator themselves, the language, and then I've got queer rep and disability rep. I find those important to know. I try and stay on top of them the best that I can. I also track new to me authors versus read from before. I track if the author is of color, and then also their nationality, which we will get to. Why? My favorite thing. We also have if I've reviewed the book. Obviously, I review books for you guys, so I try to make sure that if I've talked about it in a video, I don't talk about it too much in a wrap-up, vice versa. Also, I review on Goodreads and sometimes Storygraph, mostly Goodreads. I also have my Biblius TBR game, which if you're missing it, I'm not sure if anyone has, but if you are, it will be making its comeback in February, now that like the busy season is kind of easing into things and I can, get back into having like a strict TBR and it's not a lot of end of year content. I also track if I've purchased the book in this year and have read it. I have a different way of tracking my books bought as well, but this at least shows me like if I'm reading it and just like quick, easy information. And then I also track the price because I like to see how much I'm saving from using Everand or libraries or how much I'm spending and read in the same time frame. I also track if a book has been recommended to me by somebody. Eliza influenced me to read Project Hail Mary, and so whenever a book becomes on my radar or I pick it up because somebody has told me to or really like pushed for it, I try to keep track of that because I think it's fun to see like who influences me and my reading taste and like what I end up picking up. It's fun. I also, as a content creator, I pick up books for a lot of different reasons, whether it be readathons or if it's just my TBR, a reread, anticipated releases, specifically for a video. I like to keep track of those things. And then I also have where American authors are from. I track which states so that I can, see if I'm reading across the country or not. And then I also keep track of queer authors, the best of my ability. I do very surface level Google searches. If it is not easy, readily available information, but they write queer books, I'll often say unknown. If I know for sure they are a queer author, it's when I say yes. I don't pry into people's personal information. I try to just, basic, simple Google searches. If it's not on their Instagram or their website, I try to stay clear of anything further. I'm not trying to dox nobody. So it's very simple stuff. And then I also keep track of if I've updated Storygraph because that I am getting better, but I still fall behind and I'll usually have to batch post my reviews to Storygraph because I'm just a lot better at picking up Goodreads, unfortunately. So that's the basis tracker. That's where I try to keep most of my information and spreadsheet stuff. I also have the same sheet, but just for books that I'm hoping to get to soon, planning to read. Any book that I'm just desiring to pick up sooner or later, if it has a purpose like the Red Rising read along or book clubs, anything like that, failed TBRs often on this list. This is where I track my spending. Now, as you can see, it's the beginning of the year and it's not filled out a lot. If you are unfamiliar or you're new to my channel, you're just curious as to what I do for tracking, I have a lot of book subscriptions that I review on my channel for you guys to see. I spend a lot of money on book subscription boxes especially, so I try to keep track of my spending, know where I'm at, know if it's in budget or if I need to really start cutting back. I try to keep track of that, as well as just any other often unnecessary spending. As you can see, I bought some books already, and a lot of them were impulse books. Some of them are just desires. I haven't actually bought all of these. I've only bought the first 5. The other 2 I haven't bought. They're on my wish list, if you will. They're on my hopes and dreams. I really want to get The Will of the Many before I won't be able to find the nice hardcover edition, so that's why that's there. But as you can see, I have total books acquired. Of those books, how many have I actually read? My end of the year goal is to read 60% of the books that I've purchased this year. So I've got reading to do, but hopefully it will also, curb some of the spending. But I also keep track of special editions and pre-orders that I buy, since I don't pre-order a whole lot of books, but I do buy a lot of special editions. So I want to keep track of those and how that influences especially the cost. Then I have the total price. And then I have a month breakout of each month, how many books that I buy, just so that I know if some months, like last July, I spent so much money. I bought so many books. I think I bought 30-something books. It was ridiculous. So I try not to do that. But I also try to make sure that I'm reading more than the books that I buy in a month. So see here, I bought 7 books. I want to make sure that I'm reading more than 7, especially, preferably, if it's more than 7 off my shelves. Like, if I'm reading the books already on my shelves, then it cancels out, you know, the new book coming in. And then I also keep track down here. I also keep track of where I bought the book from. I tried, obviously, you see a lot of book subscriptions reoccurring. Barnes & Noble, Target, Amazon are probably like the 3 main places that I buy books. Unfortunately, Eugene is not a book city, and so we have a limited amount of indie bookstores, and they're very expensive and not easily accessible for somebody like me. Unfortunately, I don't go to my indie stores as much as I would like, but this is where I track the books that I buy. It's shameful by the end of the year, and that's the point. I also, this is one of my favorite pages, I track the days that I read, how many pages I read. I love seeing people in their physical journals track that. I wouldn't keep up with it. Simply couldn't be me. I would never stick with it. I would drop it so fast. I would forget. This is something that no matter where I am, if I'm at work, if I'm at home, if I'm on the go, I have access to the spreadsheet, and therefore I can still keep it up to date. And then if I'm, you know, as I do religiously update Goodreads with how many pages I've read every 5 minutes, I'm able to also calculate it from there if I need to go back. It's just a little checkbox system. I just check off the days that I've read, and then it calculates the total days in the month that I've read, and then down here we have the pages. So this is how many pages I've read so far this month. This is like the definitive list. A lot of the times I will physically read a book, and I will try to only track the pages I've actually read versus listen to. So if I'm tandem reading, I want to make sure that I know the correct amount of pages that I've read, which sometimes doesn't align with my CAWPILE, but this I know is like definitive. Yes, these are the pages I've absolutely read. My next page is my monthly plan, and this is where the chaos really ensues. This is where like my brain just spits words out. This is where I try my darndest, my bestest to track when I read my books. So I have the books in which I'm trying to read, things that are on my radar for whatever reason. I keep them down here, and a nice little neat spot to just say this is where I can find the book that I'm looking for, and this is like how it ties into things. I also track video sometimes if I'm tracking for like a certain goal, and then I just fill the month in as I read things and where I can fit them in. Again, I have a job where it's really easy to listen to sometimes 2 audiobooks in the day, and so it's just nice to see like these are the books that I read on what days, because I'm bad at doing that in physical trackers. So this is my way of that. A lot of people will have in their reading journals like throughout the month, they'll say like, I started this book on this day and I finished it this day, and I think that's cool. This is kind of my way of doing that. And then the next page is also really fun. This is my genre Tetris. A lot of people do this. It's basically Tetris, but you just fill it in with the genres you read as you go. I'll show you my complete one for 2024 because it looks kind of cool at the end. And then we have my bookish awards. I posted my video recently where I went over my 2024 awards. I don't think it was quite as good as my 2023 award show, if we're being honest, but I'm happy to have got it done. I cut that one down significantly compared to the amount of categories I have on this page, but I really like seeing and tracking the things that I'm working on. I have goals that I'm striving towards. I've got reading challenges that I'm striving toward. It keeps me on track and it keeps me engaged with what I'm currently and actively doing. So I know that I've read Project Hail Mary, and I know that's one of the best sci-fi and audiobooks I've read so far. As of this date, it's one of the best. And so I've put it on here. And as the year continues, as I get more 5 stars, as I get more 2 and 1 stars, I put it onto the tracker, sort things out to where they need to go. And this just keeps me engaged with reading the story. It's like, okay, whose character is sticking out to me? What magic system is really cool to me? And therefore, I'm not spacing off listening to audiobooks as much, and I'm, you know, engaged, as I've said. Okay, now my final page. Oh, wait, this is my, this is part of my process. Now, I'm, again, a content creator. I talk about books, and I pride myself with having a pretty solid memory. I'm really good at remembering books that I read 3 years ago, what the plots were. Maybe not character names, because those are so-so, hit or miss, but the plot I can remember, the twists I can remember, where I was at, how I was feeling, what was going on in my life at the time I was reading it. I've got that down to pretty well. But last year in 2024, I decided to start really paying attention to my reads. I'm going through an issue right now of, is the book good, or am I just tuning out the audiobook because I got distracted? I'm trying to figure out where that line crosses or divulges, because I will sometimes pick up an audiobook and people love the book and I'm like so excited. I'm like, this is gonna be great, it's gonna be so fun, and then I'm listening to it and I'm just not interested in it, and it's like, is it me? Is it the book? Is it because it's audio? I'm trying to, stay more engaged with how I'm feeling throughout. So I like to track my 25, 50, 75, and 100% feelings throughout the book. This also helps me when I'm trying to write a Goodreads review, also coming to you guys and talking about wrap-ups. There are just some books that are forgettable. There are some books that just don't click, don't matter. Even if I try to pay attention, sometimes they're just unforgettable books, and that's just, a sign of a not great book, and that's okay. The ones that, I love, it's just nice to, write down my feelings, write down where I'm at, what I'm thinking, spoilers for myself to remember, when things are happening. So I will kind of, blur some of this, so I'm not, spoiling you guys, but I also keep track of the characters that I find important so I can remember their names, because that's, the one main thing that I will come and I'll be like, hey guys, I'm halfway through this book and I don't remember their names, but here's the whole vibe. So I'm trying to get better at remembering names. My favorite thing, I know, people are mad, people don't like the tropification of the publishing world right now. I personally love seeing what similarities books have to others. I also have, my comp title, I have the vibes. I want to know what a story is so that I can pitch it to people. I want them to know that if they like a small town, here's a couple thrillers that they might want to check out. If they love dragon books, here's some dragon books that I can recommend. And I know how I felt about them, and I can try to see things a little bit more objectively. Obviously, people don't like how books are being sold just based off their tropes. I think that we can have quite a discussion about publishing right now and where it's at and if it's going downhill or not and the goods and the bads. I get it. Different discussion. I like knowing the tropes. Everything has a trope. Even if you don't think books have tropes, there's some type of trope going on. It's just whether it's super popular or not. But thrillers do it. Horror does it, romantasy does it, we know that. It's common, but it doesn't bother me too much. What can I say? And then the final thing on my thoughts page is just, I'm tracking race, as in humans versus dragons versus aliens versus fae. I just want to know what kind of creatures I'm reading in my stories. Obviously humans going to be the most common, but it's nice to see what other creatures pop up, if it's fae, if it's witches, so on and so forth. I find it fun. It's just a little thing that I like to do. And then I have writing style. I learned in last year that I think I'd much prefer either first person or a really close third person. Third person romantasy, you feel really in their head, but I don't always love a third person where I feel left out of the story. I don't really know the characters. I'm just being told about what they're doing and about their thoughts, but I don't connect to it. I find that I connect really well with first person. So I've been tracking that to the best of my abilities when I can remember and figure it out. But I also, listen to a lot of audiobooks, whether it's tandem reading or just audiobooks on their own. So I like to keep track of the narrators and the rating for the audiobooks so that I can come tell you guys what my favorite audiobooks were, what I think the best were. Now that this is a new category in the Goodreads Choice Awards, I feel even more validated in my decision to do this myself. But I love audiobooks. It's one of my favorite ways. It's really pushed me into reading more and enjoying stories more, knowing that I can listen to a book a lot faster than I can read a book. And by golly, I'm gonna do it because time is money and I got things to do. But I do really enjoy audiobooks, so it's nice to keep track of narrators that I really like so I can, see if they have other books that they've narrated and that I can keep track of. It's just fun. And so now, the finale to the video. Let's talk about my 2024 stats. I'm not gonna go super nitty gritty into this just because I feel like this video is already long enough and I don't want to bore you guys too much. If you're really interested in the stats, you guys can pause along the way and suss out what information you're interested in. But I keep track of the books that I read per month, pages, hours, all the fun stuff. I also track, rereads, buddy reads, book clubs, which book clubs and which readathons I participated in. That's a big part of my channel and just my enjoyment in the community, so I keep track of that. I've got the method in which I read books, series versus standalones. Again, not the most accurate way of tracking, but pretty okay. And then we have the genres that I read. The second genres, say I read a fantasy, second genre romance, or I read a mystery, second genre thriller. I keep track of those things. And then we've got over here my tropes. My most read trope looks like found family at 15. So that feels accurate. I also track, like I said, the race and creatures in which I come across. And then we've got the vibes. This is just, you're feeling a book. I am a very vibes heavy person. I annoy my friends all the time with it. I'm so sorry, but it's who I am. I'm all about the vibes. I want to feel cozy, and I want to know what's going on. I'm all about the vibes, man. So I've started keeping track of vibes, whether this be the setting, winter, summer, fall, whether it be small town or if it's more urban story or dark academia, just, gothic, just vibes that I can, help pitch some of the books. And then I also keep track of publishers. I don't really care about publishers, I'll be honest. I mostly do it for the self-published purpose. I want to know if books are self-published, how many I'm reading. I've only read 22. That's not super great. I want to increase it. I want to utilize Kindle Unlimited a bit more, pick up a little bit of the out-of-the-norm stuff. But it is also nice to see, diversifying where I'm getting books, seeing if I'm, falling into the big five a lot or not. It's really difficult because the big five have so many, mini publishers that I just can't keep track of, but I try my darndest to, be a little bit mindful of when I'm picking things up. I also keep track of how I got stuff. You can see I read a lot from the library. We love Libby. I have a few cards. It's useful. I also piggyback off my boyfriend's Hoopla because we both have library cards, but he doesn't use it as much, so I use it. And I think that's a win for me. So it's just a lot of little things like that. I just, get the books wherever I can, and it helps me read more, especially if I can spend less money. I also keep track of the translated books that I read in the original language. Lots of Japanese typically is my main one. Then I also have the format of the book. I try to read primarily novels, and I want my format to be 50% me reading books and 50% or less audiobooks. That way, I'm still a reader. For all the people that don't believe that audiobooks are reading, ugh, it's so freaking annoying. But I do like to at least, make sure that I'm still in practice of reading books, because I do find that with dyslexia, it's a keep it or lose it kind of skill for me. If I'm not often reading books, I definitely slow down and get a little bit more confused. It's definitely something that the more I do it, the slightly better I get. I can average about 40 pages per hour. Sometimes it drops down to 30, but if I could get it to 50, that'd be nice, right? And then I also, keep track of the audiobook length, page length. You can see the range in which I'm more comfortable with things, like the shorter books. We have the average rating for the year, and the star ratings for which I keep track of things. This is on a 0.5 scale. This is just whole numbers. 24, 5 stars. That's it. And that's not terrible. I had a pretty okay reading year. On CAWPILE, my reading has always come out of the 3.5 since using CAWPILE, which has been almost 5 years. So it's not looking great. I haven't really gotten out of the 3.5. Goodreads says it was 3.6 last year. I'm aiming this year to be 3.7. We will see. And then I also keep track of age category. Again, the queer and disability rep, publication year, all that kind of good stuff. And then I break down the disabilities or the queer rep that I see. And then I also keep track of my author's stats. So authors of color, I really got to increase this number. I always fall behind towards the end of the year. Usually October is what really does it to me, because I pick up a lot of horror books and I end up just picking up the most white men I possibly could. And then it ruins my stats. So it's really disappointing. Men definitely skyrocketed in numbers this year, which was a little disappointing. I usually keep the men that I read down a lot lower, but that's fine. Something to work towards. And then I also, have the breakdown of the cultures that I'm reading from, which we'll get that. Oh, so exciting. And then I keep track of the authors' nationalities and the number of authors that I read. It looks like the most reads were Helen, Danielle Jensen, and Wataru, who is the author of the Cat and Gamer manga. Yes. And then, like I said, new or returning, total debut. I read 199 authors. And then we get into the money spent, money saved portion. I, in total, saved $26.34, and total spent, it says $14.40. You can imagine that's a bit higher, because that's what I read this year. Not great. I think my new books tracker said that I read 40% of the books that I brought in, which is pretty good. Now, let's get into my little fun graph. This table is so fun to me. It's very difficult because obviously I read a lot of American authors, so it really dominates my little graph here, but it's fine. You can still see Canadian, Australian, you can see Japan. You can sometimes just pick up some faint color differences to see where else I've read. It's so difficult though. So yeah, I kind of just like seeing where authors are from and where I'm reading from. I think it's a cool little thing. It's obviously not a big deal, but It's fun to look at. You can see the breakdown here. This is where the graph gets its information, and you can see that there's a lot. I would love to read more around the world. I just gotta figure out a way to do that in fantasy. If publishing could get better about that, that'd be so cool. Now let me show you my genre Tetris, and then I will send you guys on your merry way. But I break down my Tetris into different genres that I like to track, color coordinate them all, give them their little shapes, and then I just put them all in here. I really love seeing the Tetris. I think that is just so cool coming together. It's fun. I think that it looks great in a journal, but having an endless amount of pages, I can ensure that I will be able to make it as big as I need to for depending on how many books I end up reading, which I think is great for me personally. With that all said and done, those are the ways that I've so far been tracking. Like I said, will be trying to do this physical journal this year, as well as my Canva and my tracker for CAWPILE. So I will have 3 different tracking methods this year. Hopefully it all works out. I would also love to catch up on my Aurelium journal, which I kind of have given up on. I've slacked a little bit, but I had a lot of fun when I was working on this. I want to bring this back for my fun journaling self who misses the pen to paper printing stuff out and like making cute little pages. I want to bring this back with Aurelium, and I want to get it up to date. I've already purchased the next one for when I need to switch over, because this one is almost out of pages. So I need to get back into this. This is my art project for the year. So I've got some artistic journals. I will definitely update it, and then I'll show you guys if that's something you're interested in. But yeah, I've got a lot of ways of tracking my stuff. I love tracking stuff. I love data. Don't be surprised if I add more to my CAWPILE by the end of the year. I just think it's so fun. I think data is so cool. It's really nice to see your own stats and see how you improve. I have a master spreadsheet that will be collecting data of all 5 years I've been using CAWPILE, and will show me 5 years worth of data, which I just think is really cool. And I'm nervous, but I'm excited to see my growth over the years. And so you can expect that video in like 2026 or something crazy. But for now, I will let you guys go. My next video is going to talk more about my series tracker, if you're interested in that, and see the so many series that I'm in the middle of. But if you're interested in that, that'll be coming Sunday. And until then, I've got to go because my voice is being gone. So I will catch you guys later. I hope you have a nice day and read some good books. I'm gonna go finish Iron Flame so I can read Onyx Storm. Bye!